Listen and focus. Practice every day. Indonesian folklore. The story of Admiral Hang Tuah, Rio, Indonesia. In ancient times, there was known a knight named Hang Tuah. When he was still a child, he and his parents, Hang Mahmud and Dang Merdu, settled on Bintan Island. This island is in Rio waters. The king is Sang Manayaka, the son of Sang Superba, the great king who has a Mali guy on Sai Guntang Hill. Hang Mahmud had a hunch that one day his son would become a prominent figure. When he was 10 years old, Hang Tuah went sailing to the South China Sea accompanied by his 4 best friends, namely Hang Jebat, Hang Kastori, Hang Lekar, and Hang Likiu. On the way, they are repeatedly harassed by a group of weeds. With all his courage, Hang Tuah and his friends were able to defeat the mob. This news reached the ears of the treasurer of the king of Bintan, who was very impressed with their courage. Once upon a time, Hang Tuah and his 4 friends managed to defeat 4 berserkers who attacked Tuan Bendahara. Mr. Treasurer then adopted them as his adopted children. Mr. Treasurer then reported about their prowess to His Majesty King Shah Alam. His Majesty the King also felt amazed, and also adopted them as his adopted children. Several years later, His Majesty the King planned to find a new place as the center of the kingdom. He and his royal courtiers, including Hang Tuah and his friends, traveled around the Malacca and Singapore Straits. The group finally stopped at Ladang Island. There the group saw white mouse deer, which was difficult to catch. According to the advice of the elders, if you meet a white deer in the forest, then that place is good for the country. Eventually a land was built there and it was named Malacca, after the Malacca tree found in that place. After ruling for some time, His Majesty the King intends to propose to a beautiful princess named Tun Taya, the only daughter of the treasurer of Seri Benua, in the Indrapura kingdom. However, unfortunately the princess refused the king's proposal. Finally, His Majesty the King proposed to Raden Galawa Mazayu, the only daughter of Seri Batara Majapahit, the great king of the land of Java. The day before the wedding, there was a commotion at the Majapahit palace. Taming Sari, an old but very tough Majapahit warrior, suddenly went berserk. Knowing this, Hang Tuah then confronted Taming Sari. Hang Tuah had a clever strategy by exchanging his karis with Taming Sari's karis. After the karis was replaced, Hang Tuah then repeatedly attacked Taming Sari. Taming Sari only lost when the magic dagger held by Hang Tuah was stabbed into his body. Hang Tuah was then given the title of Admiral and was awarded the Taming Sari karis. The king with his wife and entourage then returned to Malacca. For many years this country is safe and secure. Hang Tuah became an admiral who was very loyal to the king of Malacca and was very loved and trusted by the king. This aroused the envy of the soldiers and courtiers. Once a slander spread that said that Hang Tuah had behaved impolitely with a palace maid. The spreader of the slander was Padir Kurma Wijaya, who was jealous of Hang Tuah. The king was angry to hear the news. He ordered Treasurer Paduka Raja to expel Hang Tuah. The treasurer was actually reluctant to carry out the king's order because he knew that Hang Tuah was innocent. Tuan Bendahara suggested that Hang Tuah quickly leave Malacca and go to Indrapura. In Indrapura, Hang Tuah knew an old woman named Dang Ratna, Tun Taja's host. Dang Ratna later became his adoptive mother. Hang Tuah asked Dang Ratna to convey a message to Tun Taya so that he would love him. Thanks to Dang Ratna's efforts, Tun Taya wants to love Hang Tuah. The relationship between the two then became very close. One time, Indrapura was visited by a Malacan boat led by Tun Ratna Daraja and Tun B. Yasora. They asked Hang Tuah to return to Malacca. Tun Taya and Dang Ratna also joined the group. Arriving in Malacca, Hang Tuah then met His Majesty the King. Hang Tuah said, "I'm sorry, my lord. I've been living in Indrapura all this time. Servant returns to remain loyal to His Majesty. Tun Ratna de Raja reported to the king that Hang Tuah had come with Tun Taya, the daughter the king had always wanted. Long story short, Tun Taya was finally willing to become the king's second wife, even though she actually loved Hang Tuah. Hang Tuah then served again as Admiral Malacca, who was very loyal and loved by the king. Hang Tuah has been slandered again after years of living in Malacca. Hearing the slander, this time the king was very angry and ordered Mr. Treasurer to kill Hang Tuah. Tuan Bendahara could not bear to kill Hang Tuah and asked him to flee to Hulu Malacca. Hang Tuah entrusted the taming Sari Karis to the Lord Treasurer to be handed over to His Majesty the King. Hang Jebat later replaced Hang Tuah as Admiral Malacca by His Majesty the King. Taming Sari's Karis was handed over to Hang Jebat. After Hang Tuah died, Hang Jebat forgot himself and became drunk with power. He acts arbitrarily. Jebat also often behaved impolitely towards royal dignitaries and ladies in waiting. Many people have advised him. However, Hang Jebat remained stubborn, unwilling to change. His Majesty became furious at Hang Jebat's behavior. None of the warriors can defeat Hang Jebat. His Majesty then remembered Hang Tuah. Lord Treasurer told His Majesty the King, "Sorry, sire, actually Hang Tuah is still alive. He fled to Hulu Malacca." On the orders of the king, Hang Tuah prepared to go to Malacca. Hang Tuah faced the king and expressed his readiness to fight Hang Jebat. Hang Tuah was then given the Porong Sari Karis. There was a very great battle between two very loyal and disobedient friends. One day, Hang Tuah managed to take Taming Sari's Karis, and with that dagger, Hang Tuah was able to defeat Hang Jebat. He died in Hang Tuah's lap. Hang Tuah was reinstated as Admiral of Malacca. After that, Malacca returned to peace. Admiral Hang Tuah often traveled abroad to the lands of Judah and Rum to expand the influence of the Malacca Empire throughout the world. One time His Majesty sent a trade envoy to the Bajaya Nagaram kingdom in India led by Hang Tuah. After arriving in India, the group continued their voyage to China. At the port of China, Hang Tuah's entourage clashed with the Portuguese because they were very arrogant and did not accept that Hang Tuah anchored his ship next to the Portuguese ship. After facing the King of China, Hang Tuah's entourage then continued their journey back to Malacca. On the way, they were attacked by Portuguese boats. Hang Tuah was able to overcome their attacks. The Portuguese captain and officer fled to Manila, Philippines. Hang Tuah's group finally arrived in Malacca safely. One day, the King of Malacca and his family traveled to Singapore accompanied by Admiral Hang Tuah and Treasurer Paduka Raja in various oversized boats. When he arrived in the Singapore Strait, King Shah Alam saw a fish with golden scales and pearl-colored eyes around Shah Alam's boat. When looking at the surface of the water, the king's crown fell into the sea. Hang Tuah immediately dived to the bottom of the sea, while drawing Taming Sari's dagger to retrieve the crown. He managed to take the crown, but when he almost arrived at the boat, a big white crocodile grabbed him so that the crown and Karis fell again into the sea. Hang Tuah dived back into the ocean to chase the crocodile. However, the crown and Karis were still not found. Since losing the Taming Sari crown and Karis, Raja and Hang Tuah have become gloomy and often sick. Meanwhile, the Portuguese governor in Manila was very angry to hear reports of defeat from his officers, who managed to escape. After several months of preparations, the Portuguese army departed for the Malacca Straits. At this point, they started an attack on Malacca, which overwhelmed many of the Malacca warriors. At that time, Hang Tuah was seriously ill. His Majesty the King ordered Mr. Treasurer to ask Hang Tuah for help. Even though he was sick, Hang Tuah was still willing to join the troops against the Portuguese. Hang Tuah said to His Majesty the King, "What are we waiting for? We must quickly get them out of here." With his determination, Hang Tuah was still able to attack the enemy, both with swords and cannons. However, a Portuguese gunpowder bullet managed to hit Hang Tuah. He was thrown 7 meters and fell into the sea. Hang Tuah was rescued and then taken by Mendam Barahi boat back to Malacca. All the boats of Malacca's officials and troops also returned to the kingdom. Likewise, the Portuguese troops returned to Manila because many of their leaders were injured. The war ends with no winners and losers. After recovering, Hang Tuah no longer served as Admiral of Malacca because he was getting old. He lived his life in seclusion on the hilltops of Lajira in Malacca. His Majesty also no longer leads. He is replaced by his son, Putri Gunung Ladang.